The New York Knicks have not simply reached the NBA Finals, they have bulldozed their way with one of the most statistically dominant playoff runs the league has ever seen. After sweeping both the Philadelphia 76ers and Cleveland Cavaliers in consecutive rounds, New York now enters the finals, having won 11 straight postseason games, tying the third longest playoff winning streak in NBA history. The Knicks have not lost since April 23rd against Atlanta in the opening round, meaning they have gone over a month without a single playoff defeat. Regardless of how favorable or difficult the bracket may have been, that level of sustained dominance against playoff competition is rare in NBA history. There will be attempts to diminish the path. Critics will point out that the Knicks only faced one team with a top 10 defense during the run, that being the Atlanta Hawks. And notably, that was the only competitive series New York played. Both top-seeded teams in the Eastern Conference, the Detroit Pistons and Boston Celtics, were eliminated before ever facing the Knicks, leaving New York as the highest remaining seed and clear alpha of the conference. But playoff basketball does not reward hypothetical matchups. You play whoever's in front of you, and the Knicks have done far more than simply survive. They have overwhelmed opponents at nearly every level imaginable. During this current 11-game winning streak, New York has posted a staggering 126 offensive rating, a 102 defensive rating, and a 24.5 net rating, all ranking first among playoff teams. It spanned the lens to their entire postseason run, where they hold a 12-2 record. The numbers remain historic. The Knicks own a 123 offensive rating, a 103 defensive rating, and a plus 20 net rating across the playoffs. That plus 20 net rating is not merely impressive for this season. It stands above some of the greatest playoff teams ever assembled. The 2001 Lakers finished their legendary postseason with a plus 14 net rating. The 1971 Milwaukee Bucks, who captured the franchise's first title before the Giannis era, finished around plus 13, as well as the 2016-2017 Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant, Michael Jordan's 1990-91 Bulls. What New York is currently producing, statistically exceeds all of them. The Knicks have paired elite offense with suffocating defense throughout the playoffs. They are averaging 120 points per game, while shooting 52% from the field and 40% from three, all ranking first among postseason teams. Their 26 assists per game also lead the playoffs, illustrating how balanced and connected the offense has become. Defensively, they've been equally dominant, allowing only 100 points per game, the best mark among playoff teams. Opponents are averaging just 21 assists and 35 rebounds against them, both playoff lows. For context, the second best rebounding defense in the playoffs allows roughly 40 rebounds per game, making New York's gap in that category especially absurd. If I have to point out a negative, because otherwise people will claim I'm glazing, the only legitimate weakness is rim protection, where the Knicks rank near the bottom of playoff teams and blocks at roughly 4 per game. But when every other defensive metric is elite, criticizing shot blocking numbers begins to feel more like searching for flaws than identifying real problems. The opening round series against Atlanta immediately established how overwhelming New York's balance was. The Knicks averaged 117 points per game compared to Atlanta's 100. They out-rebounded the Hawks 45-36 per game, shot 50% from the field compared to Atlanta's 43%, and hit 38% of their threes, while holding the Hawks to just 31% from deep. Shot quality and efficiency separated the teams even further. New York shot 39% on above-the-break threes, roughly 10% above league average, while Atlanta shot just 29% from the same zones. The Hawks also struggled with the corners. Individually, the numbers become even uglier. CJ McCollum shot 1 for 4 from the left corner 3 during the series. Dyson Daniels finished only 1 of 5 from both corners combined, while Jonathan Kuminga went just 2 of 12 on corner attempts overall. The Knicks consistently erased Atlanta's easiest spacing outlets, forcing the Hawks into increasingly inefficient offense throughout the series. That dominance escalated even further against Philadelphia. New York averaged 124 points per game, while holding the 76ers to just 102. The rebounding gap widened again, 43 to 32, while the Knicks nearly averaged 30 assists per game compared to Philadelphia's 20. New York shot an absurd 54% from the field and 44% from three, while the 76ers managed only 45% overall and 31% from deep. Shot profile data made the mismatch look even worse. The Knicks finished well above league average from nearly every area of the floor, including the restricted area, non-restricted paint, mid-range, and above the break threes. Philadelphia's only efficient zone offensively was the right corner three. Everywhere else, the offense collapsed under New York's defensive pressure. Joel Embiid shot just 2 of 8 on above the break threes and only 33% in the paint outside the restricted area. Kelly Oubre went 1 of 7 from top of the key threes and 1 of 6 on paint attempts outside the restricted area. Paul George struggled to generate efficient mid-range scoring, shooting 6 of 18 from the zones, while Tyrese Maxey endured one of the roughest shooting stretches of the postseason, finishing just 3 of 19 from three-point range and 3 of 10 from mid-range. The Knicks systematically forced Philadelphia stars into inefficient shot profiles while simultaneously producing an elite offense themselves, creating one of the most lopsided second-round performances of the playoffs. Then came the Eastern Conference Finals against Cleveland, a series that was expected to test New York far more heavily. Instead, the Knicks dismantled the Cavs in 4 games. New York averaged 119 points per game, while holding Cleveland below 100. The Knicks won the rebounding battle 46 to 36, shot 50% from the field, and held the Cavaliers to just 42% shooting overall and 28% from three-point range. Once again, New York operated above or near league average from virtually every offensive zone, especially from the corners and mid-range. Cleveland, meanwhile, fell below average in the restricted area, the non-restricted paint, above the break threes, and left corner threes. The Cavaliers simply could not generate efficient offense consistently enough to survive. Donovan Mitchell was essentially the only consistent offensive lifeline for Cleveland, finishing well above league average from top of the key and mid-range areas, including an efficient 7-11 mark on mid-range attempts. Outside of Mitchell, however, Evan Mobley shot 8 of 21 from three-point range throughout the series. James Harden struggled badly from deep, shooting only 5 of 28 overall. Jared Allen became almost unplayable offensively in half-court situations. Outside the paint, the only shot he attempted was a missed mid-range jumper. And even around the basket, if he was not directly at the rim, his efficiency disappeared entirely, shooting just 1 of 6 on paint attempts outside the restricted area. The Cavaliers simply could not create enough efficient offense to survive against a Knicks defense that consistently removed primary scoring zones while forcing role players into uncomfortable shot-making situations. While Jalen Brunson remains the obvious centerpiece, after averaging 26 points and 7 assists on 53% shooting during the regular season, Brunson has essentially replicated that production in the playoffs with 26 points, 6 assists, and 54% shooting. His ability to manipulate matchups has become the foundation of New York's half-court offense. Whether targeting slower guards or hunting switches onto poor perimeter defenders, Brunson controls the pace with a level of patience and processing that increasingly resembles Chris Paul stylistically. The true reason that New York has become nearly unbeatable is because multiple players have elevated beyond regular season levels simultaneously. Yet, perhaps the biggest transformation belongs to Karl Anthony Towns. During the regular season, one of the largest criticisms of Towns centered around tunnel vision whenever he attacked off the dribble. Among 161 players averaging at least 5 drives per game, Towns held one of the league's lowest pass rates. In the playoffs, that has changed dramatically. His assists have jumped from roughly 3 per game in the regular season to over 6 per game in the postseason. Mike Brown's increased use of 5-out offense has unlocked Towns as a perimeter initiator, allow him to survey the floor while pulling opposing centers away from the rim because of his all-time shooting ability. Defenses can't help off him without risking open threes, which creates enormous space for cutters and off-ball action involving Brunson and OG Anunoby. Towns' playmaking leap becomes even more impressive when compared across positions. His 6 assists per game are comparable to guards like Jamal Murray, Tyrese Maxey, and De'Aaron Fox. Among centers, only Nikola Jokic has produced more playmaking volume during these playoffs. The leap is especially dramatic considering that in his previous 2 conference finals appearances, including his run with Minnesota in 2024 and New York last season, Towns averaged only 1.9 assists across 34 playoff games. In just 10 games this postseason, he already surpassed the entire assist total. Advanced metrics reinforce how impactful Towns has been. He currently leads the postseason in win shares and has maintained a box plus minus above 14 through multiple playoff rounds, joining historical company alongside players such as LeBron James, Michael Jordan, Nikola Jokic, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Kawhi Leonard. The Knicks are not merely using Towns as a scoring big anymore. They are using him as an offensive hub. Mikal Bridges deserves enormous credit as well. After shooting 49% during the regular season, Bridges has elevated to roughly 58% shooting throughout the playoffs. Following a quiet 7-point performance against Atlanta in Game 5 of Round 1, he has not scored below double figures since. Across his last 9 playoff games, Bridges has averaged roughly 19 points on 62% shooting, while still maintaining significant volume at around 15 to 16 shot attempts per game. That level of efficiency at that workload is elite. Defensively, Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart have formed one of the best perimeter defensive groups in basketball. Players defended by Bridges are shooting around 40% in the playoffs, while OG and Hart have produced similarly disruptive numbers. Then there's Landry Shamet, whose defensive metrics almost feel absurd. Opponents guarded by Shamet are shooting just 27% during this postseason run, turning him into one of the most unexpectedly valuable role players on the roster. What makes this Knicks team especially dangerous entering the finals is that their dominance does not appear overly dependent on unsustainable isolation scoring. Their offense is built on spacing, quick decisions, matchup hunting. Defensively, they rebound at an elite level, limit assists, and force opponents into inefficient shooting zones. Even when individual stars cool off, the structure itself continues producing advantages. And perhaps most importantly, the Knicks no longer look like a team simply surviving playoff pressure. They look like a team controlling it. Every round has strengthened the belief that this group is not riding momentum alone, but operating at a historically dominant level statistically, structurally, and mentally. Their journey to this moment did not begin with this playoff streak. It was built through years of roster construction, playoff failures, adjustments, and identity formation. Now, after more than half a century without a championship, New York sits 4 wins away from completing one of the most dominant postseason runs the NBA has ever seen.
Up, Robinson throws it down.